The morning light fell softly through the golden curtains of Mr. Arthur's mansion. Grace, the new maid, carried a silver tray of tea into the drawing room. Her steps stopped when her eyes caught a large portrait on the wall. It was a boy. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a calm, innocent face staring out of the frame. Her heart skipped a beat. The tray slipped from her hands and crashed to the floor. "Sir, this boy lived with me in the orphanage," she whispered, her voice shaking. Mr. Arthur frowned, annoyed at her words. "That's impossible. This is my late son, Ethan. He never lived in any orphanage." The room went silent. Mrs. Miller, standing near the window, exchanged a confused look with Grace. Grace's eyes filled with tears. "No, sir, I raised him. I fed him when he was sick. He used to draw little stars on paper and say he wanted to be free." Mr. Arthur's face hardened. "Enough nonsense," he said coldly. "Do your work and don't speak such lies." Grace bowed her head, but her hands were trembling. The portrait seemed to stare back at her, alive with memory. She could almost hear Ethan's laughter echoing in her mind. She turned to Mr. Arthur and said quietly, "Sometimes the truth hurts, sir, but it never dies." The moment was heavy, filled with invisible tension and hidden pain. The camera would slowly zoom in on Grace's tearful eyes as the background music softened. A soft text fades in on screen. "Subscribe for Chapter 2 when the truth begins to rise." That night, Grace could not sleep. The mansion was silent except for the ticking clock in the hallway. The image of Ethan's blue eyes from the portrait haunted her mind. She knew what she saw. She knew the boy was real. The next morning, when Mr. Arthur left for his office, Grace walked through the long marble corridors. She felt something strange about the east wing of the house, a part where no one was allowed. Mrs. Miller had warned her never to go there, but her heart told her to follow her instinct. She stepped inside quietly and found a locked door covered in dust. The keyhole shimmered faintly in the sunlight. She whispered, "Ethan, if you're here, give me a sign." Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the corridor, and the door creaked open slightly. Inside, she saw children's drawings pinned to the wall, stars, birds, and one small paper that said, "I want to be free." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan," she cried softly, "you did live here." Mrs. Miller appeared behind her suddenly, her face pale. "Grace, what are you doing here?" she asked sharply. Grace turned, trembling. "Tell me the truth, Mrs. Miller. Who was this boy really?" Mrs. Miller looked down, her lips shaking. "You should leave this house before you learn something you can't forget," she said, and hurried away. Grace stood frozen, her heart pounding. The house felt alive, whispering secrets in every corner. She looked again at the wall where the drawings hung, and this time she saw something new, a faint handprint beside the paper. It was small, like a child's, and fresh. The screen fades slowly with Grace whispering, "The truth never dies." Text appears. "Subscribe for Chapter 3 when the walls begin to speak." Grace could not stop thinking about the handprint on the wall. It was too fresh to belong to a child long gone. That night, while the mansion slept, she returned to the east wing with a candle in her hand. The flame flickered as if nervous, just like her heart. She stepped into the hidden room again. The drawings were still there, but now the portrait of Ethan that once hung in the main hall was missing. She gasped. Footsteps echoed behind her. Mr. Arthur appeared, his face tense. "You shouldn't be here, Grace," he said firmly. She held her candle higher. "Where is the portrait?" she asked. His eyes darkened. "Some things are meant to stay buried," he replied. Grace took a step closer. "Ethan lived here, didn't he?" she whispered. Mr. Arthur sighed deeply. "Yes, he was my son," he confessed. Grace froze, her breath catching. "But the orphanage, the letters, the drawings?" she asked. He looked away. "I sent him there when my wife died. I couldn't face him. He reminded me too much of her." Grace's heart ached. "He loved you. I remember how he used to draw you," she said, tears filling her eyes. Mr. Arthur shook his head. "He ran away from the orphanage years ago. I thought he was dead." Suddenly, the candlelight flickered wildly, and the portrait fell from the shadows, landing at their feet. Ethan's painted eyes seemed alive, wet with tears. Grace gasped. Mr. Arthur knelt, trembling. "Ethan," he whispered. A faint voice echoed, soft and distant. "Father." The candle went out, and the room fell into darkness. Only the sound of a child's laughter filled the air. The screen fades to black as text appears. Subscribe for Chapter 4 when the truth rises from the shadows. Darkness swallowed the room as Grace and Mr. Arthur stood frozen. The laughter echoed again, soft yet chilling. Mr. Arthur whispered his son's name, but only silence answered. Grace found the courage to relight the candle. The portrait now showed something new. Ethan's painted hand was pressed against the canvas, a faint glow outlining it. Mr. Arthur reached out, his own hand trembling as he touched the same spot. A flash of light filled the room, and the air grew heavy. Grace stepped back, covering her mouth in disbelief. Before their eyes, the portrait began to change. The boy inside it grew older, until he looked exactly like the man in the photograph Grace had found earlier in the orphanage files. Ethan's voice filled the air, full of sorrow and love. "You never came for me, father," he said. Mr. Arthur fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I was ashamed, not of you, but of myself," he cried. Grace watched in silence, her heart breaking for them both. The glow from the portrait softened, and Ethan's eyes turned gentle. "I forgave you long ago," the voice whispered. Slowly, the light faded, and the portrait returned to its stillness. Mr. Arthur collapsed, holding the frame tightly. Grace helped him stand, her eyes full of compassion. "You can still make it right," she said softly. The next morning, the town gathered as the mansion opened its doors for the first time in years. Mr. Arthur announced a new orphanage fund in Ethan's name for underprivileged black children who were often ignored or mistreated. The crowd clapped, tears in many eyes. Grace stood beside him, proud and emotional. As the sun rose, its golden light touched the portrait one last time, making Ethan's smile glow. Grace looked up, whispering, "Rest now, Ethan, you're home." The screen slowly fades to black, and soft music plays as text appears. Love knows no color, and forgiveness knows no end. Subscribe for more powerful stories like this.